What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane. Thanks for checking out the video. Heresy's about to bring some interesting changes to the world of Destiny, and as a Warlock, some of the most exciting changes will be the renewed focus into Strand. With Heresy's new artifact, we'll be getting several mods that will enhance the performance of several Strand builds. For Warlocks, this means builds that revolve around the Meteodoxia and the Swarmers will be very strong options, both on Prismatic and Strand. But there's another exotic that you might want to consider using in Heresy, and that is the Rain of Fire exotic boots. This exotic will have some especially powerful synergy with one mod in particular, called Particle Reconstruction. Whenever dealing sustained damage onto a single target with any fusion rifle, that weapon will receive a partial reload of its magazine, along with an increase in damage. This will see fusion rifles becoming a much more dominating weapon type in Heresy, and that's great for the Rain of Fire. This exotic comes with a Soaring Fusilier intrinsic trait, which provides a passive increase to the airborne efficiency of any fusion rifle. And after landing a final blow with a fusion rifle or linear fusion rifle, this exotic will trigger Radiance. This will be provided in increments of 8 seconds, and while Radiance is active, all of your weapons will gain a 20% bonus in damage, and that's in addition to other damage bonuses like weapon surge mods or activity modifiers. So by stacking on as many fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles that we can, we'll be able to sustain the benefits of Radiance and Particle Reconstruction, allowing us to deal a ton of damage. Weapons that aren't already set towards another champion type will gain the ability of piercing barrier champion shields when Radiant, which will give us a lot of advantages in in-game content, where we'll see plenty of champions. We'll talk further about our choices in weaponry here soon, but some of the most powerful weapons to use with this build include the Vex Mythoclast, the Euphony, the Scintillation, Nox Perennial, and Scatter Signal. Ordinarily, you would need to be on a solar or a prismatic build to be able to trigger the benefits of Radiance, but because of this exotic, we can have that bonus damage on any subclass, and because of its secondary benefit, we'll find it to be a perfect fit with Strand. After performing an air move like Icarus Dash or Weave Walk, all weapons, even those that are stowed, will be automatically reloaded, which can be a tremendous benefit when in the middle of a damage phase, but it's also going to help when you have a lot of aggressive enemies and no time to waste reloading. Rain of Fire and Particle Reconstruction will be one of the most powerful combinations in Heresy, and with several artifact mods providing Strand abilities with improved performance, the Strand variant of this build might end up being one of the most dominating Warlock builds throughout Heresy. So let's go ahead and take a look into our Strand class tree to see what this subclass has to offer. We are of course using Weave Walk, which provides us with a unique movement ability. When we have melee energy and perform a mid-air dodge, we will go into an invisible state that provides us with a 90% bonus in damage resistance. And because of the Rain of Fire, all of our weapons will get reloaded. As we remain in this state, we will generate threadlings, but melee energy will continue to be drained. We're pairing this up with Weaver's Call, which does allow us to generate threadlings whenever we activate our class ability. This will help us optimize our threadling creation, which will ultimately increase our overall damage. And personally, I love threadlings. These little green demons are amazing. They're sentient, which means they'll do all the work for you. And when we use Thread of Evolution, they'll travel further and deal more damage. Even though we intend on consuming our melee energy with Weave Walk, we do still have the option of our standard Arcane Needle, which will unravel enemies. Unraveled enemies take continuous Strand damage for 8 seconds, which will be a great help towards clearing out big groups of enemies. As far as grenade options go, we have Threadling Grenades, which are going to spawn even more of our little green demons. But there are situations where we will need to call upon Shackle Grenades, but this is reserved for those scenarios where Barrier and Unstoppable champions are present. When it comes to our fragments, we are making use of Thread of Fury, which will provide us with bonus melee energy whenever we damage targets with tangles. We need melee energy to Weave Walk, so we want to do everything that we can to improve its uptime. We're also using Thread of Generation, which will provide us with extra grenade energy as we take damage. This is a very small amount of energy, but it kicks in with each tick of damage, so it can really increase the uptime of our grenade, allowing us to have a constant supply of little green monsters running around the battlefield. We already mentioned Thread of Evolution, which is like steroids for our little green minions, and that leaves us with our final fragment, Thread of Warding. When collecting an Orb of Power, we will gain Woven Mail. Woven Mail provides a 45% bonus in damage resistance, so as long as we keep generating orbs, we'll be able to rely on this resistance bonus just as much as Weave Walk. Orb creation will be key for us, as we will be using the Unraveling Orbs Artifact Mod, which will provide all of our Strand weapons with unraveling rounds. And keep in mind that these weapons will already be receiving the benefits of Radiance and Particle Reconstruction, so we're going to be dealing out a lot of extra damage thanks to this new artifact. As we apply damage to unraveled targets, our next artifact mod will kick in, and that's Horde Shuttle. This will cause threadlings to be created off of those enemies, and yes, those will receive the same distance and damage bonuses as our other threadlings. With Disruptor Break, enemies who become severed will deal even less damage than the standard 40% reduction. We don't have any fragments providing us with the ability to sever enemies, but by using Strand weapons with Slice, we could still achieve that. This weapon trait works out really well since Slice is activated after triggering class ability. Reducing our enemy's damage output will make any encounter easier, but it's even more important for us to utilize this when entering into endgame level content. The Scatter Signal and Scintillation are two Strand weapons that provide Slice, and would make great options to pair with Rain of Fire and Particle Reconstruction. Another weapon trait to look for on these weapons will be Hatchling, which will cause those weapons to generate threadlings on final blows, allowing us to add even more little green demons to our green army. As I mentioned earlier, the Vex Mythoclast and Euphony will be two of the strongest exotic options to go with this build. The Vex Mythoclast is a fusion rifle that fires like an auto rifle. It was already an extraordinary option before Heresy, but with Particle Reconstruction active, this exotic will be on a whole different level. The Euphony is in a good position to be a dominating option for sustained damage, and it's going to pair up great with Unraveling Orbs, Horde Shuttle, and Particle Reconstruction, but it is a special weapon, so unlike the Vex, it does rely on ammo bricks. The Lorenz Driver, Delicate Tomb, Telesto, and Tessellation are also going to be great alternatives. Fusion rifles will gain the benefits of stunning unstoppable champions, so depending on what type of champions that you have to deal with, you might want to swap out one of your 3 fusion rifles with a rocket sidearm or a heavy machine gun. The Call will be a great option to handle barriers, and it does offer Slice with Hatchling. And the Circular Logic would make for a great heavy option that will gain the ability to stun overload champions. So if you're looking for a top tier Warlock build that will tear through enemies at any level of content, then the Rain of Fire is going to be a really strong option for you. So if you haven't checked it out, it's time to do so. With that said, I wish you all the best of luck throughout Heresy. That's going to wrap things up for today's video, but if you need help making a copy of today's build, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics link that's down below, where you'll be able to find this and a ton of other great in-game builds. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.